Hello and welcome to what's probably the first of a few videos about my sketchbooks from my recent holiday to Uzbekistan with Art Safari. Art Safari is a company based in Suffolk in Woodbridge, and they organise art holidays, trips and things like that, and workshops online and in person. Great company. I discovered them last year through Sketchfest. Anyway, if you've seen my souvenirs video that I did last week, you'll know that I went to Uzbekistan for a 2-week art holiday, and we stayed in 4 different places, had an absolutely amazing time, and it was my first time on an art holiday. So yeah, I learned a lot. I did post a previous video about the supplies that I took, and you can see some of them here. So I had my little schminke palette. I had my Winsor & Newton Professionals palette with extra blues added in. And I also took Moon Glow and Buff Titanium, which ended up being a couple of my most used colours, and you can see how much of a dent I've made in some of these browns and blues. And you can tell how much mixing I did, and the fact that this no longer looks like a nice pristine new tin, and neither does this. I also used this selection of Neocolor 2s. I didn't take all of them with me, just these ones, because they seemed like the most relevant colours that I would use. And I took these books with me. Actually, I should mention this pen as well, this Sailor Foodie pen. This is the one with an angled tip. This writes beautifully. And I've got inside it a kind of dark turquoise ink now. I did start off with a black ink, and I didn't like it too much for the work I was doing whilst I was away. It was near the end of the cartridge, so I swapped it out for another one that I'd taken. Absolute hero of my trip. So yeah, these were the sketchbooks that I took and used. I did have other sketchbooks in my suitcase, which I ended up not using. So this was a book that I made myself. Uzbekistan is on here. And that's why I took this book. That's why I made this book and took it. This was kind of like an everyday sketchbook for me, easy to fit in my handbag, and I did a lot in here. This one is a CY Eco sketchbook, and although it looks like I haven't done anything in it, I had put dates at the top of each page, intending to write in it each day as my kind of journaly bit, really. And I've missed out some days because I misplaced it, so I've still got to write up the days that we had in Khiva. I think after that I was pretty good at keeping up to date with it. So there's that one. This one I did take out a lot with me, but I didn't actually do very much in it. And I discovered that I didn't like the second side of this paper. This is another Sea White of Brighton watercolour paper, 225 GSM. This is an Art Safari sketchbook that I got last year at Sketchfest. Again, it's Sea White of Brighton. Other brands are available, and I did take a Hahnemuller. I think that was a square one as well, but I ended up not using that. So did you do quite a bit in there? Excuse me. And then this is the A4 Sea White of Brighton, and this is the 300, I think, GSM book. So where shall we start? I will probably forget the names of some of these places. So I will start with this one today, see how far we get. So this is a nice, this was mixed media paper that I made this with, and I'm just going to check you can see, yeah. So this was in the airport whilst I was waiting for my second flight. So I transitioned in Istanbul, that was where this was, and I had just got started on painting a picture of some paint, just got started on painting a picture of some of the plates that I'd seen for sale when they said my flight was boarding. So I had to stop and I never went back and finished it. This is a picture that I did with my Fude pen when it had the black ink in it. And this is a sculpture in Tashkent at the cosmonaut station. So they have an underground system, and this is in a plaza just outside the metro station. On this side, it's got this picture of a mother and child here, and this is a scientist with his sextant looking up at the stars and the moon and the sun and what have you. This round bit here is actually literally just perched in between these two massive columns. And the day when I was here, there was some children on their skateboards going up and down this. I will put a couple of pictures in so that you can see the other side of it as well, because on the other side it was a picture of some scientists and an astronaut as well. I painted this side because there was a bench that was looking in this direction, and this was easy to see. If I'd painted or drawn the other side, I would have been facing into the sun and I couldn't see the definition on it, but it was just lovely. I think I actually preferred it before I used my water brush on it, when it was just the ink drawing. And that's one of the things that I've learned. I think if I'm not sure about something, I'm gonna either take a picture of my drawing, or when I get back, scan it and then colour it. So that was that one. This is a copper pot, like coffee pot that we saw somewhere. That was very near the beginning. And this may have been on the day when I went out on my own in Tashkent before other people had arrived. I did use the Viva colour sheets. I used the gold one of that to give it a little bit of a glisten. And I think that might be the orange out of it as well. So there's that. All the tile detail that we saw in different places was just stunning. And so this was one. These were others, and they're very, very quick sketches because we had to, so that's actually a musical instrument. I didn't finish it. We were moving on quite quickly through some of these places, so literally you have to draw quickly. This here is the centre of a water fountain that was inside this museum that we went to. And I just loved the detail of it. It was beautiful. And the rooms in that place were just stunning, absolutely stunning. And the day we were there, they were preparing for a visit from a high up person. So one of the other things that I learned was that I really should make better notes about what I'm drawing. This is in Tashkent. I'm fairly sure it is. And I cannot remember the name of the building or where it is. So I will have to have a look through my photographs and see if I can identify it. But one of the things that's very clear from this as well, you'll spot it yourselves, is getting the perspective right. I found quite difficult. And I did draw this in pencil first, and then I've gone over it with the pen afterwards. But again, this is like a 5-minute sketch, 10-minute sketch maybe. Very quick. So on our second day, we got up really early to catch a flight from Tashkent to Nukus. That's how you spell it, Nukus. And that was with Uzbekistan Airlines, very nice airlines, they're very new. And we went to visit the Savitsky Museum and Art Gallery. And that place is absolutely amazing, absolutely full of beautiful artworks from the people of Uzbekistan. And the story about the Savitsky Museum and Art Gallery is just amazing. I'll put a link in the description below for a video that you can watch if I can find it, because the whole history of the guy that built the museum and whose brainchild it was is just amazing. And it covers some of the history of Uzbekistan with Russia, which is very, very interesting. So this is another one of these where I drew what I thought was an acceptable sketch, and then I think I kind of spoiled it trying to replicate the colours in the photograph. But this is a portrait of a young woman by this person, Jaksibev. Not sure about the way I've said that. They were alive from 1943 to 2014. And I'll pop a picture of the actual painting. But again, in terms of the sketch, this was probably a 10-minute sketch that I did, because did we have 2 hours maybe in the museum? I think it was about 2 hours. So all of my drawings were very, very quick. Here's another one that I did. I drew it in pencil and then did watercolour on top of it. And again, I think when you look from a distance, it doesn't look too bad. When you look close up, the shadows are not right. And I think that's partly the mixed media paper isn't very great for blending the watercolours. But I loved this painting. And again, I'll put the picture in. So this one, there's a big story about this. It really made me laugh. One of the things that was very noticeable throughout the holiday, and we first experienced it in this art gallery, was wherever we were and we were drawing, people would come and stand around us and watch. And some would ask questions, but some would just silently stand there and watch. And then others would want their photographs taken with us, and we caused quite a stir in quite a few different places. So anyway, I was sketching out in pencil this ossuary, which is a box where they stored bones. And this one's from the necropolis of the ancient Mystican era. And I was sketching away, and this young boy came and stood, well, I say boy, a teenager, came and stood by my left shoulder, and like quite close, looking over. So I looked at him and smiled. He smiled back, and I carried on drawing. And then before I knew it, there was a group of other teenagers around me. It was a school trip. And then this girl came over and started videoing me sketching. And she started to say something to the boy, and the boy told her to be quiet. And he was going, shh, 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 like this. It was so funny. Anyway, so I drew the pencil outline and went over it a bit with the brown liner. I didn't like that very much. And then I got the definition with watercolours. This was another one of my favourite paintings. I'll put the picture of this in as well. I haven't coloured this yet because this is one that I do want to scan in because I liked my sketch of it and I don't want to wreck it by doing watercolours. So that's why that's not coloured in. But I just thought the expressions on this face were just beautiful. And then there was a little bit where there was some comedy type, cartoony type paintings. And I just loved these two. So again, a 5-minute sketch. And that was one of the things that I did get quite good at, was trying to capture things really quickly. although I still have a tendency to go for too much detail. But I like those, and again, I won't do any colour on those because they're just fine as they are. And then this lady is another of the paintings. Couldn't do the hands, but again, I made myself go very quick on this because A, we were running out of time, but also I was aware that I would be having to draw very quickly at later points in the trip. I should have said as well, this is an A6 size, by the way. And you'll see I did some portrait, I did some landscape and some portrait styles. This painting here, we stopped towards sunsetty kind of time. It was getting late on in the day. So from Nukus, we drove in the coach to Khiva. And it was quite a long journey. The landscape was very, very flat. And this is called the Tower of Silence. So this was one of the places where we stopped just to look. And this was probably about a mile away from us. So I've done it looking quite close up, but we were quite a way away. And this is from the Zori, I can't say it properly. This is somewhere where people were buried. I'll put a little bit more detail. Then this is a quick sketch I did at Tuprak Kala, and you'll see that I did manage to write some notes on this one. And this was in the Khwarezmi area. I put here the amazing ruins of an old city, beautiful views for miles around. And there was 8 million bricks used in creating this place. And it was just stunning on so many ups and downs levels, and so much of it still exists today. Lovely place, lovely. And it is in the middle of nowhere, I should say, absolutely in the middle of nowhere. So that was on our journey to Khiva. And Khiva is an old city. It has 2.5 kilometres of city wall, built around 3 to 4 AD, something like that. Some of my notes don't always make sense. And there are 5 palaces there. And out the front of the city walls, there's a series of statues with camels. So this was a quick 5-minute sketch of the camels. This was a bin. I don't know why I sketched the bin, but I did. This was a tile detail, which I then coloured in later. One of the other supplies I really liked were, it's got them here actually, these Derwent line makers, and 2 pens that I got from Muji last year or the year before with the right colours. So this was one of the minarets. I just went straight in with these colours, I think. And I didn't worry too much about getting all the detail of the pattern. I just did lots of colour just to show that there was lots of colour there. So I don't know if you can see that. It's a pencil drawing of the unfinished minaret. Very unfinished drawing as well. Inside some of the courtyards in the madrasas, there were yurts. And so this is a yurt. And as you can see, I was struggling with perspective. Although I did learn something about perspective and how these lines go if you're standing at different heights. But there was just a bit too much curve on this, really, on this band. These are beautiful, beautiful buildings. And then here, again, one of the minarets, just with a little bit of detail. I went straight in with one of the turquoise pens that I had, and then went over it with a bit of watercolour. This is some tile detail. This was I don't know if it was a statue that we saw maybe. And then on the buildings, we regularly saw these kind of bow tie shaped tiles. and they're called eternity tiles because they do look like an eternity symbol, and they're mainly a green turquoise. They represent life, eternal life, and they predate Islam. Jalal, our tour guide, I'm just going to see if this is in focus. He came out with these phrases every now and again, and one of them was about, well, you can read it there, camels pooing walnuts, meaning that something is very valuable because it's very rare that they happen. So in Khiva, there's lots of wooden balconies on the buildings, and they were where speeches were given. And then I misunderstood this bit to begin with, so I wrote down German singer, thinking it was a German singer, but it wasn't. It was that the German sewing machine company called Singer were in Khiva. They had a place established there. So that was very interesting. And then these are two pictures from statues that were in one of the madrasas that we visited in Khiva. Again, I wish I'd written down who they were. I would probably have it in my photographs. This was a quick sketch I did at lunchtime. These were the lights that were very colourful, and then this was one of the statues that we saw everywhere. They're like the jolly people, and just lovely character. And then here was where I think I really seriously started making some notes, because I just realised I was hearing so much information and I couldn't take it all in. So this was a book stand that they use for the Quran or other books, and it's one where it's carved out of one piece of wood, and the gentleman that was showing us these particular ones did a demonstration of, I think there's 10 different settings that you could have it in, and it was like click, 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 click. So I will put that little video in here because it's just amazing to see.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 tablet iPad.
Wow. And then we visited the tomb of Pahlavan Mahmud, and this was just some of the detail that we saw there. And again, some of my notes just don't make sense to anybody else. And this was a detailing from the top of one of the madrasas, I think. This is another unfinished sketch of one of the domes there. The domes are a beautiful blue colour. These are some of the pillars. There's 213 pillars in the Juma Mosque, and it was an amazing place, this. It was quite dark inside, but all these pillars were beautifully carved wood, and holding up the ceiling. And there was a courtyard bit, and they were doing some renovation work, because obviously they've been standing for a long time, and you could see where some of the wood was needing to be replaced or recarved. So that we did visit there a couple of times, and it was just lovely and peaceful and cool in there. I should say the weather wasn't too hot yet when we went. It was very nice. And I did do a painting of this in one of my other sketchbooks, which didn't work out so well. Then in the Juma Mosque, I actually did a bit more of a detailed drawing of one of the carvings. and this was just to remind me of some of the tile patterns that we saw in the harem. So one of the kind of square bits, courtyard bits, that's the word I was looking for, is called the harem, and that was where the concubines and the wives would share the harems. And I just did a quick sketch there, and I think I got my pencils out to do that bit. I can't remember what this was, but I clearly started it and then gave up very quickly. I think because this paper just was not doing it for me. Some more tile details. Again, I just wish I'd had more time to do some of those. Oh, here's another kind of thing, saying from Jalal. It's not the best of the best, and it's not the worst of the worst. If the baby doesn't cry, the mother doesn't give breast milk. About a chaotic place, the dog doesn't recognise its owner. And then dirt seekers under the nail. I forget what that last one was for, but anyway. This was a drawing of a building. I did do a more detailed drawing of it because we had longer there than I thought, but I've forgotten what the name of that place was, but that's in Bukhara. So this was when we'd moved on. And then this is a quick sketch of a Lada car. So there's not many Lada cars left, and there is another brand of car whose name escapes me, but mostly you see the same car make in Uzbekistan. So yeah, I just stood in this square and drew this car very quickly. It's another unfinished sketch here. This is in Bukhara, on the top of one of the madrasas, the beautiful tiling detail, and I will go back and finish that at some point. And we went to visit a carpet museum in Bukhara, and this was something that we saw there. It was kind of copper, so again I used the Viviva watercolours for that. And then from Bukhara we went to the Kizilkum Yurt camp. So this is a sketch of Marianne from Art Safari, who was our leader and absolutely amazing artist. I was sitting kind of one seat back from her and was trying to think of what to draw, and I thought, oh, I'll just sketch Marianne very quickly, and this was her. She was actually doing her own painting in her book. How she managed it and still got it looking good, I don't know, because the roads were so bumpy. But that was on our way to the Kizilkum Safari Yurt camp. And then we went to, so after one night in the Yurt camp, we went to Samarkand. And these are some of the tile details that we saw. Just lovely, lovely, beautiful tiles. And I will do something more with those, and probably some Zentangle. This, I think, is a picture that I started of the Registan, which is an amazing building in Samarkand. I think that's what that is. Some more details of tiles. And again, we were moving around so quickly, I didn't really get to finish some of these. I do have photographs, so I can do those. And then this is one of the madrasas at the Registan at Samarkand, which I've got the shadows all wrong and everything, but it gives an idea. I'm quite pleased with it in the end. Scale, perspective, all wrong, but I love doing it. In the Registan, we went to a music place, and these were some of the musical instruments. Now I forget which one is which, but we have here a tar, a tambourine, which I think is that one. One of them's made with bull or cow skin. There's mother of pearl. One's a dutar, one's a pubab or rhubarb, ofthe, and they're made from walnut. This was a quick 5-minute sketch of one of the minarets. I forget which one. We went to Konigil tourism village in Samarkand, and I'd finished having a look at where they were making paper. I'd finished looking at all of the different stalls, the different crafts and things that were there, and I was sitting in one of the little tea places, and there was this beautiful plate on the, it was for sale, so I thought I would just sit and draw that. And then this was the bowl that I bought on the way to Samarkand. I filled that in later, so it was just to remind me of that. This is a statue to Mirza Ulugh, very famous mathematician, scientist-y type person. And again, this was like a 5-minute sketch and then I went over with the water brush. This was a little pottery thing that we saw at the paper making village, and this was a basket that was randomly just placed on top of a log in the middle of nowhere. And then we went to visit the Afrasiab Museum of History in Samarkand, and this was the stone carving that was above the front of the building. And inside they've got the remains of paintings that had been on the walls. Again, a lovely, lovely place. We only had a few minutes there because we got there at about 5:30 in the evening and they were closing at 6. So we watched the video about it really quickly and then had a quick look around. And then we got the train from Samarkand to Tashkent on the Wednesday. My seat was seat number 23 in carriage 2, and this was a quick sketch from the screens that showed the train. Very lovely trains, very clean, ran on time, very comfortable, loads of legroom. The seat moved forwards and backwards. They brought ice cream, which you had to pay for if you wanted it, but you did get a cup of tea or coffee and a croissant. Then they came round with some fresh fruit in pots, which again you had to pay. And on the video screens there was a cooking programme showing, which was very funny. But they were making some of the traditional Uzbek dishes. And this was the journey that we had. We didn't stop at Galistan. I think we only stopped at 2 places. But it was a very quick journey. And we came out at dusk and saw the fountain in Tashkent train station, the one out the front of it. It was lit up in beautiful, beautiful different colours, absolutely gorgeous. And then on my last full day, we went to a shop called The Human House, which was an art place, and they had an art gallery bit, and they had some antique things, furniture, paintings, clothing, and out the back they had this pile of blanket boxes, trunks is the word I was looking for. So I just did a quick sketch of them. And then this was in the Natural History Museum. Just a very quick bad sketch of one of the, I think it was a stone piece of work that was there. It was only tiny, probably not much bigger than that actually. So that is it for this sketchbook. I've only got, what have I got left? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pages left. And just to show you the back, this is so these are my luggage things from one of my flights, and then in each of the hotels you got lovely soaps, so I've just taken the sticker off the soap and put it there. This was my schminke palette, This is the duty-free sign in Istanbul airport, and this was a very quick sketch on the plane of the moon, which was that way up, and it was very orange. These were the Inktense pencils that I took, and this was the small little set of 6, but I forget which brand watercolours they were. Didn't really use them very much. These were the Caran d'Ache that I took, the Neocolor 2s, and then these were, this side was the watercolour pencils, the Albrecht Dürer ones, and these were the Faber-Castell Polychromos pencils. I honestly can say I did not use those. I might go in and use them now that I'm home again, but I didn't use them on the trip. And then this was my Winsor & Newton watercolour palette, and the most used colours were Moonglow, Buff Titanium, Yellow Ochre, Burnt Sienna, Burnt Umber, Ultramarine, Phthalo Turquoise and Raw Sienna. It's fair to say I have a lot to learn about colour mixing and getting to know my colours properly. So I think for today we will stop there. Thanks very much for watching, and I will probably do 2 more videos to show you the other books. Anyway, lovely to spend time with you today. Thanks for watching. Bye.